The Xylar Dominion was one of the largest and most powerful empires in the galaxy, known for conquering star systems with ruthless efficiency. Their fleets swept through space like storms, leaving no resistance alive. Yet, among the many planets, under their watchful eyes, there was one small blue world that caught their attention not because it was dangerous, but because it seemed completely insignificant. This planet was Earth, a world filled with water, green lands, and a species called humans. From the moment their scouts first spotted Earth, the Xylar commanders viewed it as little more than a curiosity. They observed the humans carefully, but only out of boredom, since the planet showed no signs of advanced technology or strong defenses. The humans lived simple lives compared to the grand fleets and mighty weapons of the Dominion. To the Xylar, Earth was like a quiet pond far from the roaring ocean of their empire, peaceful, slow, and easily overlooked. Still, the scouts reported back regularly, tracking every step humanity took, waiting for a sign of progress that might change their minds. For years, the Xylar Dominion watched as humans invented, built, and fought among themselves in their limited way, never imagining these small beings could ever rise to threaten their vast power. The Xylar generals talked among themselves, laughing at the idea of invading Earth. They pictured a swift conquest, if they even bothered to send a fleet. There was no reason to waste valuable ships on a world so primitive. But beneath the mockery, a quiet feeling began to grow in some of the watchers, a small, uneasy thought that maybe, just maybe, humans were not as weak as they seemed. Still, the Empire continued with its plan to ignore Earth for now, focusing on larger, more dangerous foes. Deep in their command centers, vast screens showed Earth spinning slowly in space, its blue oceans shimmering under the sun, while the humans went about their daily lives, unaware of the eyes that watched them from the darkness. The Xylar thought they held all the power, that their empire was untouchable, and that Earth would remain just a distant curiosity. But the universe had a way of surprising those who believed themselves unbeatable, and the seeds of a great change were already being sown in the quiet world they had dismissed so easily. One quiet day in the vast reaches of space, the Xylar Dominions sensors detected something completely unexpected, a powerful signal coming straight from Earth's orbit. It was unlike anything the Xylar had ever seen before, a high-frequency transmission, encrypted and precise, aimed directly at the heart of their empire's capital fleet. This caught the attention of the Dominion's commanders immediately. The mysterious signal buzzed through their communication rays, confusing and alarming their best analysts. No one could understand how a primitive world like Earth, with its small ships and basic technology, could produce such a strong and complex message. The commanders gathered in their grand halls, their faces shadowed under flickering lights, debating what it might mean. Some thought it was a trick, a minor disturbance not worthy of concern. Others worried quietly, fearing the humans might be more clever and dangerous than they had assumed. Yet, pride and arrogance still ruled their thoughts, convincing many that Earth's signal was a bluff, a mere noise in the vast cosmic sea. Meanwhile, far beneath Earth's surface, in hidden research labs and secret military bases, a different story unfolded. Human scientists and engineers had made a remarkable discovery deep within the planet. Buried in ancient ruins untouched for thousands of years, lay technology far beyond anything humans had ever imagined. This device, forgotten by time, held the key to disrupting the advanced shields of alien starships. Over many months, these scientists worked tirelessly, decoding the complex mechanisms and learning how to awaken the long-dormant power. They understood that if they could harness this energy, they might stand a chance against enemies far stronger and more advanced than themselves. The activation of this ancient technology was no small feat. It required precise timing, vast energy, resources, and coordination across many teams scattered across the globe. But despite the odds, the humans succeeded. With a quiet hum and a flash of light deep underground, the device came alive, sending out pulses of energy that traveled through space. The signal detected by the Xyler was the outward sign of this awakening, a warning and a challenge. On the other side of the galaxy, the Xyler fleet began to feel the effects. Their mighty starship shields, once impenetrable, started to flicker and fail as the ancient human device emitted waves that interfered with the Dominion's technology. Panic rose among the Xyler crews as their defenses weakened unexpectedly and rapidly. In their command rooms, the sense of control began to slip away. The humans, once dismissed as insignificant, were proving themselves capable of turning the tide in ways no one had predicted. The tension grew thick like a storm ready to break. No one knew what would happen next. But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer a quiet, forgotten world. It had sent its message loud and clear, and the galaxy was watching closely as the balance of power began to shift in the most surprising way. The moment came suddenly and without warning. Earth's counter-strike began as a silent storm bursting through the calm of space. The Xyler Dominion, who had grown arrogant and certain of their invincibility, found themselves unprepared for the furious and precise attack that followed. As Earth's ancient technology sent pulses that disabled the powerful energy shields, protecting the Xyler capital fleet, confusion rippled through their ships like wildfire. One by one, their shields flickered and died, leaving vessels exposed to attack for the first time in centuries. The once proud Xyler warriors scrambled to react, but their weapons began to fail mysteriously, unable to lock on or fire accurately as their communication networks. The very arteries of their command were suddenly cut off and severed by waves of electromagnetic disruption sent from Earth. Chaos erupted aboard the massive starships as officers shouted orders that went unheard. Crews panicked as control systems shut down, and fighters were left floating helplessly in space. Despite their vast size and advanced technology, the Xyler fleet became vulnerable in a way they had never imagined possible. On the other side, Earth's forces moved with an unmatched precision born of necessity and desperation. Human engineers and scientists, using a combination of repurposed alien technology scavenged from earlier space probes and their own inventions, guided a fleet of small but fast ships toward the heart of the Xyler fleet. These craft, though far smaller and weaker on paper, were controlled by the relentless ingenuity and fierce determination of their human pilots. Every strike was calculated, every move carefully planned to exploit the weakening defenses of the enemy. Within minutes, entire sections of the Xyler capital ships were disabled or destroyed, turning their once mighty fleet into burning wreckage drifting silently through space. The pace of destruction was so rapid that even the Xyler commanders could hardly comprehend it. They watched in disbelief as their empire's power collapsed, not over months or years, but in a shockingly brief period, a mere 14 minutes from the moment Earth's counterattack began. The word spread quickly across the remaining Xyler forces. Their greatest stronghold was falling, and no reinforcements would come in time. The humans, driven by an unyielding will to protect their home, pushed relentlessly forward, refusing to give even a moment's respite to the faltering enemy. Each new attack struck deeper, striking at critical systems and leaving no chance for repair or retreat. As the minutes ticked away, the Xyler ships lost all coherence, drifting apart, and unable to mount any coordinated defense. The silence of space was broken only by the distant explosions marking the end of an empire's reign. To the humans watching from their command centers, the victory was both astonishing and sobering. They had faced a foe that had dominated the galaxy for centuries, and yet they had toppled it in moments through courage, cleverness, and a refusal to surrender. But even as the last Xylar ships were disabled or fled into the void, the leaders on Earth knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would not remain silent or unchanged after such an event. News of Earth's unexpected and overwhelming response spread quickly among the stars, stirring hope in oppressed worlds and fear in those who still sought power. The 14 minutes that had shattered the Xylar Dominion echoed like a thunderclap. Across the universe, a reminder that no empire, no matter how strong, was untouchable. Humanity had shown that true strength was not measured only by size or weapons, but by heart, resilience, and the willingness to fight for freedom. The aftermath of this swift and decisive battle marked a turning point in galactic history, setting the stage for a new era where the smallest and most unlikely of players could rise to challenge the giants. And in those brief, explosive moments, Earth had made its declaration to the cosmos. It was no longer a quiet blue planet, but a force to be reckoned with. In the quiet aftermath of the sudden and devastating defeat, the surviving Xylar were left in stunned disbelief, struggling to understand how a planet they had dismissed as weak and unimportant had brought their mighty empire to its knees in just minutes. The pride and arrogance that had long defined the Dominion were replaced by confusion and fear, as their commanders and citizens alike questioned everything they thought they knew about power and strength. Far from Earth, the humans wasted no time after their swift victory. Instead of boasting or seeking revenge, they sent out a clear and powerful message across the stars, broadcasting a signal of warning and hope that echoed through the dark reaches of space. The message was simple but profound. Earth's defense was not an act of aggression or conquest, but a fierce determination to protect their freedom, their homes, and their way of life. They explained that humanity did not seek to dominate or enslave others, but only wished to live in peace, free from fear and oppression. This message spread quickly, carried by communication networks and listening stations in distant star systems, reaching planets long under the shadow of tyrannical rule. The words resonated deeply with those who had suffered under the heavy hand of the Xylar and other empires, awakening a spark of hope in hearts that had nearly given up. Stories began to circulate of the small blue planet that had stood against the mightiest force in the galaxy and won, inspiring whispered dreams of freedom and resistance among oppressed civilizations. As this new wave of hope grew, the humans prepared to face the consequences of their actions. They knew that their victory would not end the conflict but change its course forever. Other powers would now watch Earth closely, some with fear, others with envy, and some with the possibility of friendship and alliance. The leaders of Earth urged caution and wisdom, calling on humanity to stand united and to lead not through force, but through example and cooperation. For the first time, the galaxy was forced to reckon with a new player, one that valued resilience, courage, and the strength found in protecting the vulnerable rather than crushing them. The Xylar survivors retreated into the far corners of space, their empire fractured and diminished, haunted by the realization that underestimating humanity had been their greatest mistake. As the silence settled over the battlefields, the seeds of change took root across the stars, promising a future where the balance of power was no longer held by fear alone. Earth, once a quiet and overlooked world, had become a beacon of hope, a shining example that even in the darkest times, courage and unity could overcome the greatest of threats. The sudden rise of Earth from a quiet, overlooked planet to a central power reshaped the political landscape of the entire galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. As news of humanity's swift and decisive victory over the Xylar dominion spread, many species who had lived under the shadow of oppression began to see a new hope, a chance for freedom, and a future beyond subjugation. These formerly controlled civilizations started to rally around the example set by Earth, inspired by the courage and unity that had allowed a small planet to challenge one of the greatest empires in the galaxy and win. Slowly but surely, new alliances were formed, bringing together diverse worlds united by a common desire to resist domination and build a galaxy where cooperation and respect were stronger than fear and violence. Meanwhile, the Xylar Dominion, once so powerful and feared, began to crumble from within. Their leaders and military forces fractured into independent factions, each struggling for survival and power in a galaxy that no longer bowed to their rule. The Empire's reign was over, replaced by chaos and uncertainty, as old enemies and new forces alike took advantage of the sudden collapse to stake their claim. In the midst of this upheaval, humanity emerged not as conquerors, but as protectors, recognized by many as a rising power with a unique commitment to peace and justice. Humans vowed to ensure that no other empire would suffer the fate that had befallen the Xylar. Earth's leaders understood that true strength came not from domination, but from the willingness to stand up for what was right and to protect those who could not protect themselves. They worked tirelessly to build networks of diplomacy, trade, and mutual defense, encouraging former enemies to join together in a new galactic community. This era was defined by courage, the courage to face overwhelming odds, resilience, the strength to rise again after defeat, and unity, the power found in standing together across cultures, species, and worlds. The galaxy, once divided by fear and conquest, began to heal and transform. New technologies were shared, knowledge exchanged, and a spirit of cooperation blossomed where suspicion and hatred had ruled before. The story of Earth's rise became a symbol across the stars, a reminder that even the smallest and least expected can change the course of history. Through determination and heart, in this new age, power was measured not by fleets or weapons alone, but by the ability to inspire hope, to protect peace, and to bring diverse beings together for the common good. Earth's journey from a forgotten blue dot to a shining beacon of hope marked the beginning of a future where the galaxy's greatest strength was not the might of any single empire, but the unity and resilience of all who chose to stand together. The Xylar Dominion's fall was not just an end, it was the birth of a new galactic era, one filled with possibilities, challenges, and the promise that no darkness was too deep to be overcome by light.